Hello everyone, happy Sunday. Not as sunny this weekend as it was last weekend, so hopefully we might have some more people join us today. That'd be nice. Although Kathy's just informed me she wasn't able to save it on the share it on the page, so hopefully some people will remember and come and join us. That'd be good. Cool. That's quite ski width, isn't it? Let's see if I can square that up. Which way do I want to turn? That way. See if that will level it out. There we go. Okay, that's better. A bit more square. Okay, so today I said I was going to do some sort of paper collage. Now, basically this way that I do it, or that I'm going to show you today, is a bit like if you were creating a decoupage from one image, but you're going to use different coloured paper, or your pattern paper, rather than stamp it, colour it 4 times, and then layer it up that way. And there's no 3Ding; it's just laid flat. But I think it gives quite a nice effect. And obviously, although I haven't added any highlights or anything in this yet, we might have time to do it later. But you could get your pencils and do some shading, or your watercolour pencils and do some shading in this, or anything, or you could leave it blank. And all I've done with the eyes, if you can see the gloss on that there, so I've used glossy accents to fill in the eyes, so it gives it another dimension, and I quite like that effect. So I'm going to show you using Pink Ink Designs Classy Bird. Morning, Mum. And obviously going to use the main image. I've pre-cut a lot of it, so if we have got time, I'll show you one from scratch, and we'll do the stack of boxes that it's got there, so you can sort of see where I've got my layers from, starting from scratch, sort of thing. Obviously, this will work with any of the stamps that you've got. The bigger the better, really, because it's less fiddly for cutting out. So it's completely up to you. So the basic thing of it is, and what I did was I stamped it out on copy of paper. Just stamped it out 4 times on copy of paper. Normally, if you decoupage an image, you tend to do 3 or 4 layers, but you can have as many layers as you want to. It's obviously depending on the thickness, but because I've done this so that it will, where it's different coloured paper, when you decoupage something, you put foam tape or gel, or your 3D gel behind it. So obviously the more layers you have, the higher it gets. But because we're using contrasting paper patterns, you can keep it flat and it still gives you that same effect. So I quite like that. So you can obviously, go as many layers as you wanted to, but I'm going to stick to 4 for this. So the way I did it was I just got myself a couple of coloured pencils just to work it out. So I knew that I was going to stamp the main image onto the card blank first, so that I had all the swirls, so I haven't got to worry about the swirls. And then for my base layer, I'm just going to cut out the eye. So the purple means that I'm removing it, and then the pink will be keep later on. So keep that. Then my second layer is going to be just the bottom half of the wings here, and then I'm going to save the nose for a bit later. Then the next layer is just the top wing, so the one that's on top of everything else. Morning, Jacqueline. Morning, Simon. Sitting outside on the campsite. Well, you've obviously got better weather now than we have. Excellent. So we're going to have the top layer of the wings, so that will go over the top. So you can see what I mean. It's building up as if you were doing a decoupage. So you're looking at what layers on top of what, and then it would be this beak layer would be in the same level as this one, and then you'd have this one on top of that. So this, where you're doing the higher sections on this bit, and then that's when the little beak would go on top, and then the finer little bits would be just the top part of the wings here that I've accented, and the shoes. So to put that into practice, I have pre-cut, just so you can see. So I've pre-stamped out my main image, and then I've cut out 4 of the owls on different paper. Let me just shut the window. Wait a second. So I recommend doing for this owl in particular, or for any of them, is to, if you're doing 4 layers, have 2 dark and 2 light, and then you get the contrast between the two. And then it will look better on there, sort of thing. The paper that I'm using is yeah, I think it's from this one. I'm sure it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's one of the Craft Box 6x6 papers. So Winter Forest I'm using for this one. But I was, when they were doing the monthly subscriptions on those, I was getting a paper pad each month, and I've got lots of pattern paper. So I thought, well, what a good way to use it is with this kind of thing, and obviously it's minimal colouring, but it's a lot of cutting out. So it's sort of following on from last week with our paper cutting, but you could do it with scissors, it's absolutely fine, but obviously you might find some of the little bits a bit fiddly. So the first thing to do is to select our base layer, so our one that's just going to have the eyes cut out, our main one. And I want that to be a dark one, so I'm going to pick this one because it's quite patterned. So put those to one side there. So I'm just going to cut out the eyes from this paper. So you can see. Because we will fill in these eyes afterwards with the glossy accents. So I can do that. And these are reasonably simple to cut out with a craft knife. It's not complicated ones at all. So it looks a bit scary, I admit. Let's flip over so you can see. But that will be our base layer. So put them to one side for now. And then our second one we're going to do, so we're going to do this one in a lighter, actually let's do this one. So it's the second dark one that we're going to do. Oh no, it's not. No, these two are going to be darks. Okay, so this one's another light one. Lightish. Yeah, that one will work. Okay, so we're going to use this one here. So we're cutting out the bottom. Put that up the right way. So we're cutting out the bottom section, so this along here, and then we're going to keep his nose. So I'm just going to do that. So obviously you haven't got a line completely here, so we're just going to go follow the curve of the wing to create our own little space. Like I say, you could do this with scissors, it's not a problem. It would be get scissors to do this one. So we just want his nose on this bit. And obviously I stamped these out on 6x6, so I had a bit of card left over, so there's no reason why you couldn't stamp up some more layers, or if you decided that, although I've tried to just use it by stamping 4, that if you wanted the colour to change slightly where you're putting it, that you you know, you stamp that section out again on your spare bits and you can link them all together. So that's that bit there for that one. And then the next one we're going to do is that one. So this is going to be the wing and this top bit here. Okay, so we've got this wing here. So again, gone in from the curve. Like that. This paper is slightly shiny, so I apologise if you can't see it completely. Again, I need to use my craft mat to cut these out. So I'm removing the dark spaces between the owl wings as well. Well, no one sent me a suggestion for which stamps to use, so I picked my own, so apologies if you guys haven't got this stamp. But if you do want me to use a particular stamp, then just message me during the week, and I will use it for whatever I'm doing. There. So you also see that I'm keeping to the outside of the lines as well when I'm doing it. So right on the outside of the line, and therefore it will cover the layers that are beneath it. So got the wing there, and then that will eventually go on top of that one, like that. So you'll get the contrast there. And then we want the, I'm going to do these with the scissors, I think. It's a bit fiddly. So this one is going to be the top of the eyes. So we want, obviously the more complicated the pattern, maybe the more difficult it is for you to see the actual black lines that you're stamping. So just have one stamped out in front of you as a guide, so you know where you're cutting. Because you may find it a little bit difficult. You might think, oh no, that was a bit I wanted to keep, or it's got confused with a bird you've got in the background or something, as I've got here. Obviously you don't need to do what I did, which was cut them all out to start with, cut the edging out. You could just, just cut the bits that you require at the time. I just did it so you could see the process of them from the hole down to those bits. Go through to the centre, and we are doing the top two. Morning, Garen. Okay. There we go. So now we've got our top little, well, I suppose they're eyebrows, aren't they, really? The top bit of his hair there. Okay, and then the last bit is this one here, so all the little accents. So let's do, so this one I will be using, I won't use the knife for top bits. Let's just trim that in half. I'll use scissors for that bit, and then the knife for this one. So like I say, you're keeping on the outside of the line that you want to keep. So going there. Like I say, this is very much a carry on from doing a decoupage. If you've ever done decoupage from scratch rather than from a pattern that's already there, sort of thing. Sometimes it can be quite fun to create your own layers, especially from stamps. But obviously, if you're doing it from stamps and colouring it in, it means you've got to colour it in the same 4 times. So if you're patient, then yes, by all means do that, and you could do it the same. But I think this is a great way of using up those pattern papers that you think are too good to chuck away, but you never know what you're going to use them for, and you might find you're actually keeping them just because you like them rather than actually using them. I have that problem a lot. I go, oh no, that's too pretty to use. But actually in something like this, it utilises it. So we're just going to cut out the shoes as well. The shoes. Let me just put that little bit of paper there and you can see what bits I've cut out. Oops. There we go. Okay, and then for these inner leaf bits here, we don't want to be on the outside of the line for these two because they're underneath. So we're going to go on the inside of that line. Inside of that line. And then the outside of the other bit. Hope that makes sense. So, you can see that. Is that the right way up? No, it's that way. So you should have an edge without, 2 edges without the black line and 2 edges with the black line. And then that will create that bit there. And then we've also got this little bit here. Keeping with the flow. Obviously, if you were really apt with your knife, you could cut out all these dots and have those, but I think they'd look just as good with some pearl drops, or the liquid pearls or something like that would be quite good to accent them. So we'd be able to do that. So I think I'm done with that bit, and then this bit we just need to cut out all these here. Hope you don't find this too boring watching me cutting out. I'm sorry. I suppose it's the process sometimes. Okay. I'm gone quiet, I'm concentrating, I'm sorry. I'm reading messages at the same time. Excellent. Okay, like I say, this is, with a pair of sharp scissors, you don't have to worry about the scalpel. I know I use a scalpel, but that's because of personal preference rather than it can't be done with a pair of scissors. It's, I bought myself a new rotating scalpel and I haven't got it to work yet. I don't know if it's wrong kind of blade I got in there or what, but it's not doing what I thought it was going to do, and it was £10 and I'm a little disappointed. But I will keep playing. It's got a couple of different blades, so I'll see if a different blade will make a difference. Right, so we've got all our pieces now. Let's move that over there. Okay, so now we can start assembling. Now, although I stamped this on white, I did have another go on another bit of craft box paper that I had, which was Vintage Frames, which I thought was quite a nice setting. Then it gives you a completely different background as well. So I picked the one that went best with the colours that I already picked. So I think I'm going to use that rather than the white, just for a contrast. And hopefully it will, yeah, it does show up okay. And all I've done is used a white gel pen and I've coloured in the eyes, and then it makes them stand out. So I was quite happy with that. So let's get all our pieces together. Hopefully I haven't lost any during on the way. Okay, so we've got our. So obviously, while it's still flat like this, you could add in some extra swirls or any of your extra, bits and bob background elements or anything, or you could keep it plain. It's completely up to you. Add a little sentiment along the bottom, whatever you wanted to do, but obviously for this I'm just going to show you the technique of assembling it. So like I say, it's completely flat, so we're going to use just PVA to stick it down. And my nozzle isn't the finest, so I will be using a toothpick in a minute, but just for the bottom layer I don't think I need to. There we go. Okay, oops. Right, and then we're just going to line that up over the top like that. Give it a little gentle press. And that's our first layer, and that looks really cool even with just the eyes on there. That's quite fun. And then let's do this bit here, so our next layer. Should line up there. Like I say, because I've cut on the outside of the lines, it will definitely overlap what you've already done, so that will look nice on there. So with me so far? Okay, and then we want let's put in our little nose. Oh, actually we'll carry on with the wings and then I'll do the nose last, so we'll keep on with the wings. So we've got this top layer of the wings here, so let's do these. Like that. Okay, squeeze the time. Start to get shiny cards, it'll come off. Okay. So again, line it up on top. There we go. And then I need to get my bit card with some glue and a little cocktail stick to help me put it on. Trying to think about had it written down what I was going to do next week, and I can't remember what it was. I'm sure Simon will copy remind me later. I put it on notes on my phone, and then of course I'm using my phone to do the recording, so there we go. That's looking good with the contrast. So you can see that the contrasting patterns just make those bits stand out, and it really looks quite effective. So we've got our little bit of internal wing bit here. So a tiny bit of glue on there. Don't need very much glue at all really. Obviously paper sticks to paper pretty well, so you haven't got to worry about that. Of course, because we've cut the edges off those, they will slot in just nicely. You'll find that they won't fit in if you haven't done that that bit I said about the wing, the black lines thing. So. Everyone's dinner plans for today. We're getting dinner cooked for us today. Simon doesn't got to be in the kitchen. It's nice. So I don't know what we've got today. Maybe Mummy could let us know. It's going to be a surprise. It's not going to be a barbecue with it raining, that's for sure. This would be a great thing to add your glitters to, and all sorts like that. You know, you can have great fun with it. So that's okay. That would be good. See, these bits may wiggle around a little bit because they're looser than the original. And then that bit there, I should still be able to do it with a big nozzle, yeah. Oh, roast chicken, yummy, yummy. Just manoeuvre them so they go into place. There we go. Oh, I've got one bit of the wing there. I forgot. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's completely up to you how small a section you want to start adding in as your layers. But sometimes it's the smaller details that add it, but there's no reason why you couldn't do that with, like I say, with your liquid pearls or something like that. You can accent them with those, but obviously because of the paper, it's quite nice to have the paper. And then the last little bit of the paper wise is his nose. So, got a tiny bit too much, just get that off so it doesn't seep out. Excuse me. And there you go, nice little patterned owl. Oh blimey, really dry in here with that window open. There we go. And then, like I say, you can go through and do my glue away so it doesn't dry up on me. Do some shading or some accents or anything like that. Like I say, I'll fill in the eyes with glossy accents. I won't do it. Leave that till last because it's going to take a few hours to dry. But let's get ourselves some glossy accents on blue. Yep. Not glossy accents, liquid pearls. That's what I meant. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I have, yeah. There we go. So I'm going to do pearls in here. So just add in a obviously add a little bit more dimension to what you've already done, but not too much so that it won't go in a flat card. That's the other thing, of course, is that this this technique will go in, obviously this size is going to be a large letter, but still, no it wouldn't, no, that goes A5, so it'd be a normal letter. So it's quite nice to have, it looks like you've got all that dimension without actually having it. It's quite fun. There's a couple more dots. So it's just following the pattern of the stamp already and just adding in, making those little accents stand back out again. Maybe you might want a couple of little bits on the shoes, just to fancy them up a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Like I say, you could add glitter and do, well, actually let's do some blue bits on all of those big eyebrows, I think. So that's just, I'll put some little dots in, tie it in with our background. And then I really do like this background paper, I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I like how it looked on the white, but on a pattern paper you haven't got to think about what you're going to put in the background, it's already there for you, which is quite good. So I'm just putting a dot at the end of each of the little swirls, that's all it is, just to tie it in with everything else. There we go. And you may want to ground her there with you know, your pencil or a marker of some kind, or even with your white gel pen. That's completely up to you how you want to do it. Or you could add shading around the outside. Completely how you wanted to do. I can't find my markers for some reason. Oh, no worries. I did a tidy up yesterday, and of course that means I can't find anything. You know what it's like. Oh, I know where that. So yeah, just you have to cover this up for a TV show. Yeah, Spectrum Noir. So it's just a grey IG2. So just gonna, it's not gonna show up very much, but it will give the hint. But there's a shadow there. You can obviously do that with a pencil if you wanted to, sort of thing. And then, like I say, the last bit would be to fill in the eyes. And because you've got that recess, it's quite easy to, that's your guide for where your glossy accent's going to go. So just make sure that there's no bubbles, and it's all fit to the edge. And this will look cloudy at first, and then when it dries it will be nice and clear and shiny. Unless it's got stuck. Bit. Yeah. Okay, doing good. Excellent. Okay, so I finished that a lot quicker than I thought I was going to. So it does mean I can do the little parcel stack now as well. So we can do one right from the beginning, so you can see the process of that. And because it's smaller, it won't take as long. But hopefully, like that, I think that might be a good one for like a journal cover or something like that. You know, it'd be a really good, you know, really good sort of book cover sort of page and things like that. Quite like that. Yep, excellent. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do the little stack of boxes here. I think that might be quite nice. So let's pick ourselves some other paper. I've got here, I've got Christmassy ones. Might be quite nice. Give me a vote, people. Got a steampunk one here. Sometimes it's quite nice to do something completely opposite to what you might find on your normal, you know, what you might expect. You know, sort of when you see a stack of presents, you think, oh yeah, that's got to be, you know, Christmassy paper or whatever sort of thing. But what's this one? Green Magic paper pad. It's quite dark. Want something a bit lighter than that, possibly. Got some sea backgrounds. That might be quite fun. Yeah, let's do some seas. Okay, so my little glue bit out of the way. That's going to be quite difficult to see. Let's do that one. Good one. So, how many layers am I going to need? Do we think 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, 4 layers. 4 layers. That's fine. So. 3 and 4 bit of sand. Yeah. Okay, excellent. So I've got 4 bits of paper. I'm just going to put that to one side so I don't dunk my card in my liquid pearls. Oh, okay. No worries, Jacqueline. Okay, so or we could use a different. I use a different stamp. I try to stick to one stamp per class, and then because there's so many stamps, it means I can then pick a different one each time. Like I say, please message me if you want me to use a particular stamp. Obviously, the pink ink ones, I have them all, but if there's another one, you know, I will consider it whether I've got it or I can purchase, sort of thing. You know, if there's one of the pink ink ones you've got, but you haven't used it yet because you're still not sure what you're going to be using it for. You know, you bought it at the time, but then forgotten how to use it. Or need some inspiration, then by all means. So I'm just going to put this in the bottom corner, I think, of this one, and then we can put a sentiment or something up the top. And obviously you could do, you know, sort of your layering as well with this and build it up that way, but then, you know, it's you're going to be cutting out part sections and things, so you might find it a little bit difficult. I think this is a good thing for a focal point and a really quick simple card, as you'll see when I do these. I'm just going to stamp them out 4 times. That's what I did. Let's get a bit of starfish or something in this one, I think. Obviously with this size pattern card, you could do, you know, do yourself a load of different ones and really have some fun with it. If you're making sort of multiple cards for people, might be quite nice. I suppose making the series cards. Hi Patricia. Okay, right, so we've stamped them out 4 times. So then we've just got to side on our layers. So what I will do, so that you, like I said, so you can see the process, I'll get myself a bit of copier paper. Won't need it as big this time. And then we can work out what layers we're actually going to do. So let's get our... Might not have time to cut them all out this time, but hopefully we should. But if I show you the layer process, so 1, 2. Oh. So next week I might, if I tidy my room again, I might treat you to a mini craft room tour. I'm not promising it will be neat, although I say I'm tidying it, it's not going to be neat, but it will. You can see what I work in, and because obviously all you see is this little craft mat, and that's a very small part. I mean, my room isn't big anyway, it's shoebox size, but I fit an awful lot in it. As Mum says, it's her own personal little hobby craft. Morning, Liz. So we get our coloured pencils here, so let's use our pink for the ones we're going to keep. So our first layer, we'll do the whole thing, yeah? So we'll cut out the whole thing, and we're quite happy with that. And the second layer, let's just do boxes here. Oops. I was much better at colouring earlier, but rush colouring it doesn't quite work. So do that, and the lid of that, I think. And then we will do. Let's do the whole bow actually, I think, because we're going to be building it down. Okay, and then the next one, let's do the whole of that ribbon there, because we want the ribbon is going to be the top feature, so that one is going to be the one that's always going to be on top. I'll just get that in there so you can see. That's always going to be the bit that's left on top. So this one we are going to have the lid of that one, the lid of that one. Actually, do we want the lid of that one? I may decide to take one of those lids out, because I want the lids to be different colours, I think, so they fit with it. Yeah, I'm going to take that out. So I'm just going to colour that in purple just to remind myself that I wanted to take that one out. And then this one will just be that and the bottom layer possibly, but we'll see how it looks when we cut it out. Yeah, so with me as to what we're doing. So then it's to decide which layer's which. So our base layer, I'm thinking, will be the one with the starfish on, so that we can still see the starfish. So if I leave that in the top of the screen, you can see where we're going at. So let's try and preserve as much of the paper as we can, so we can use the rest of it again another time. If you're that kind of paper hound, I always have intentions of saving it and then I forget where I put it, or I save them all in one place and I still go for a new sheet the next time. So it's one of those that depends how good you are at use. I used to have a whole drawer of all these scrap bits of card, thinking, oh yeah, I'll go back to them, and I never do. I always go for a new sheet, which is a shame really, but you know, I was trying to think of better ways to use, you know, better for the environment, as it were, but I don't think a paper crafter is really considering things like that. It's you know, I do try. I recycle an awful lot in my room. Oh, excuse me. I'm very good. I have a separate recycling box for all my card and plastic Coke bottles that I have in here and things. I try where I can to reuse things. I obviously reuse bubble wrap for backgrounds and things like that. So I do try where possible. And all my a lot of my pen pots are all out of recycled jars and you know, like coffee mate cans and things like that. You know, I paint them up, and they make good things for that. So there is our first layer. Okay, so we want a contrasting second layer. So let's go for that one. Okay, so this one, as you can see, this one's quite an easy one to cut out because there's a lot of squares, and you've got that ribbon that goes through the centre to hold everything together. I've been playing with some resin crafts recently, having a play with those, some successfully and some not so successful. I bought myself some UV resin because I was getting a bit impatient at waiting, but obviously you can't do as thick projects with the UV stuff, so you have to do it in multiple layers, which again then becomes a bit tedious, but get some pretty stuff at the end. Not that I have any to hand at the minute that I can show you, but I've just, in tidying yesterday, I've given all that stuff its own little box, so now it has a proper box. So it's one thing I do with storing stuff is I tend to have a box per craft type, other than obviously my general paper craft. So I've got a box for parchment craft, multiple boxes for quilling, yeah, a couple of boxes for the encaustic, a couple of boxes for needle felting, box of crochet. That's all I got. Yeah, sewing boxes, all sorts really. So yeah, sort of bit of everything basically. I've decided to keep the boxes mostly blue for this, by the way, and then the one that I stamped out on the sand, that's going to become my ribbon. So that's what I decided on. Yeah, so you sort of, whatever you're going to keep on the top, that's the one that you need to carry through all the way. Otherwise it won't look like it's on the top, if that makes sense. Box for mummy stuff. Yeah, I know, that's my room, isn't it, Mum, really? Things that you pinch. I don't suppose you want any gold and silver card, do you? If not, I'm going to give it to my boss at work. I've got a load of hunky-dory decoupage stuff that I would send out to people, but it costs so much to post it. I suppose I could send a set or something, but it's quite weighty, that's the problem. I have to maybe donate it to a charity shop or something, see if anyone wants it. It's all, I mean, you know, I've barely used any of it, sort of thing, because I bought it thinking, oh, that would be ease of Christmas cards, and then I always create something different for Christmas cards. Last year I did an acrylic painting of a robin, which I don't have anymore because I gave to my mother-in-law because she wanted it. And oh god, what was I going to say? Yeah, and then I scanned it into my printer and printed it out onto cards. So it was obviously hand painted, and then I had the computer multiple printed it so that everyone got the same card, but obviously it was still handmade because I'd made it myself, and then on each card I then glittered it all up. So it was a bit like, I suppose, if you were buying ones in the shop and they say they're handmade, and and it's actually all they've done is stuck a little bow on it or something, because that's their handmade component, and they're allowed to say that it's handmade because of that one part, even though the majority of it isn't. But I did paint it myself, so I was quite pleased with it. It did look pretty. And then obviously I still do special ones for parents and husband, which Simon normally gets a Norwich themed one for Christmas and for his birthday, because it's only 2 weeks apart. At least it won't be as much planning for his birthday this year, that's for sure. So it was his 50th in January this year, so that was a big one to sort out, and obviously we were in lockdown, so it was trying to figure something out for that. Alright, okay, so I've managed to chat my way through cutting all that out. A bit about my craft room and everything. Okay, so we have all our layers here. You see I said that I was going to cut that bit out. So then it comes putting them together. So let's see how we can construct this. Let's get our glue. So, there wasn't anything really fiddly in this, so I should be okay about sticking it down. It's just a little bit smaller, that's all. Obviously we're going to probably lose most of that starfish, which is a shame. But it just gives us a base layout on it. Oops. Okay, so looking good. Different layers, so you can sort of see that the layers that the bits you've cut out are the bits that are going to show behind. Right, keep that there. That's you. So we're starting to build up the different colours now, because we've got the different layers, and of course our bow is changing colour each time. I'm quite pleased with that. And then our last bit, obviously you didn't have to change the colour on the bottom. You could have just had the bow on its own, but as I say, completely up to you how you want to do it. There we go. So that's our little stack of shoes there. And then of course you can go in again with your little accents. Let's just check that's working. Yes, it is. And then some dots on there, perhaps, making dotty. Yeah, so you would possibly have sort of different colour lid to your actual box, and depending on where you're getting them from and stuff. So a little bit on the bow there. There we go. I think that's turned out really well, that one. So I didn't plan on doing that at all today. So from just starting that off, maybe you can see that okay. So we've got obviously we could have done it on the same on the same picture. You could have put that in there. It's completely up to you, but it's quite weighty once it's got the 4 layers of card on it. So, but yeah, the 2 together there. I'm quite impressed. That's starting to dry now. It's quite warm in here, so it is drying reasonably quickly. So yeah, that was the original owl there. Well, you see, just the change of paper's just completely changed it. You know, like I say, you can play with all your pattern papers or play with, you know, just stamping it on white and colouring it yourself, however you want to do it. But like I say, I think there's a great way of using some of those pattern papers you're not quite sure what to do with. You know, all the scraps that you've got or anything, depending on what size your stamp is. Obviously, this size stamp will work really well with all your scrap little bits, and I could have done it probably in the scraps I had left over from that. So let me just